GI from the CAO, who thinks I'm a minute late, but I'm actually a minute early. So welcome to the annual regular meeting of Council, Tuesday, October 24th, 2023. We would like to begin this meeting by acknowledging that we are gathered on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Inca, Katma, and the Silk people. Also would like to wish a happy belated 95th birthday to Councillor Charney. We all missed it apparently, but somebody got it down right, so there we go. And at the end of the meeting, Councillor Charney will inhale some helium and sing for us all. Late items, we have two things, 11.6, which would be the cents situation, and 11.7, 11.6 would be the support letter, and 11.7 would be the, am I right or am I wrong here? How's this going?
Thank you, Your Worship. So there are two items that are late that we can add to the agenda if Council wishes. The items have been circulated on table for you, and they would be items 11.6, Merritt Centennial's Icebreaker, and 11.7, TNV Letter of Support Request.
Thank you.
And if you wish to add those, then we would just have a resolution.
You bet. Would I need a motion? Councillor Rogan, Councillor Egan, any discussion on that? We'll move that to there. So all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Any public input? Oh.
Just one more thing. I just wanted to make note that there was one revision to the agenda as well.
Yes.
And that is item 8.1. The wrong attachment was attached to the item, but the correct one has been attached to the agenda online and circulated to everyone.
Thank you. We don't need to make a motion to add that, do we not?
No, it was done before the agenda.
Thank you. Public input. Have we any public input? No? Adoption of minutes, 4.1, regular council meeting minutes, September 26, 2023. Recommendation that the minutes of the regular council meeting held on September 26, 2023 be adopted. Councillor Egan, Councillor Charney nodding her head. Any errors or omissions on that? It passes the Councillor Charney test. All those in favor? Opposed? Number 5, general matters, delegations and recognitions. 5.1, BC Wildfire Recognition Presentation. Chief.
Thank you, Your Worship, members of council. Being that we were recently awarded the British Columbia Community Resiliency Recognition Award, which is definitely worth some applause, which is in recognition of all the fire smart activities, and we can go back as far as Tom Lacey and Fire Chief Donald Moyes right into the 70s up to present time. We thought it would be appropriate at this time to also recognize the BC Wildfire Service and in turn the Merritt Fire Zone for their contribution, which really is around the fuel management work that they've completed above the bench, Collettville areas and surrounding our community, as well as their unwavering support of the City of Merritt, including the Merritt Fire Rescue Department, assisting us with suppression in and outside of our borders. And this summer's hog fuel fire is just another example of that, where they came when we made the call. So we'd like to recognize them. We have a entourage of local firefighters, if you want to come up.
You need me there? Do you want to? Yes, I do.
Get a picture at the end. We had a custom made, and the only sad part is
No, she was. Anyways, thank you. Also wanted to point out the fact that Krista Menard had a lot to do with this. She has moved on to Chilliwack, plus our crews that were, I was up on that hog fuel fire and with the chief and some other people and watching them coordinate the fire. And our gentlemen and these people here were right in the thick of it. And it was a tough go. So, and Krista had a lot to do with this, so I appreciate her input, even though she's gone. And Chilliwack has her now, which is unfortunate, but that's the way it goes. So thank you very much. Unfinished business, nothing. Bylaws. 7.1, permissive tax exemption bylaw 2356-2023, amendment to bylaw 2288. And we have a recommendation that amendment to the permissive tax exemption bylaw number 2356-2023 be adopted. Sorry about that. Councillor Etchart, Councillor Ogan, any questions on this? Councillor Charney?
This is the exemption for CNAs. Am I correct in this?
Yes.
Okay.
Nope. Yes.
Okay. I voted against this last time, and I'm still opposed to this. I think that the intent of a tax exemption is for groups that paying city taxes would be onerous on the group, and for one thing, and I don't think paying a tax bill of 1,300 and something is onerous considering the amount of money that this group has. And every time we give a tax exemption, that money has to come from somewhere else. So I think we have to look at tax exemptions, and especially this type of exemption, and maybe tighten our belts. If it was where this group only had maybe 20,000 that they were playing with, then yes, I could see it. But when you have over $1 million as a surplus, I don't think paying taxes is very onerous on that group. So I am definitely not in favor of giving a tax exemption to some group.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Egan?
Yes, thank you very much. I agree with Councillor Charney in that I think considering that of the amount of the taxes necessary. And the other thing I was looking at is it says that you would attach Schedule A, and I was looking for A, not here, or the new Schedule F.
Wouldn't that be information we had in our package last week? For the last meeting?
Was it?
Yeah, it would be in, we got the full package in our meeting, in our package last meeting, so schedules were in there.
Okay.
So for myself, I'm going to support this, and the reason I am is because there's other groups that you meet the criteria. There's other groups that are even more well off than this one, and we still give them the permissive tax exemption. So it goes on the qualifications, so I'm willing to support COA.
I think that, you know, based on what Councillor Charney is saying, that council may wish to review the criteria and ensure that it meets the needs of the community. I mean, we can't not provide that to places of worship because it's provincially mandated. But however, if council wants to review the permissive tax bylaw to determine if the criteria best meets the need of the community and best meets our financial position and what other documentation they may have to provide us, that is certainly something we can do. But I think that if a group meets all of the requirements, and similar groups or other groups that are in a similar position are currently receiving it, it might be considered unjust to not allow this group as well. And we only have 1 year left in this particular bylaw, so the whole bylaw could be reviewed in that time, and applicants will have to resubmit for the next bylaw. So you may want to think about that. And as part of our Truth and Reconciliation work, this is an Indigenous cultural center where they will be doing healing ceremonies and that sort of thing. So, you know, I'm not sure that everyone would see that differently than a church.
So thank you. Also, Oh, I had a thought and I've completely lost it. This could come before the policy committee, and that's what the policy committee is for. And I would expect that this will come before the policy committee, and if changes need to be made, that's probably where we'd make them there. Councillor Charney.
Okay, I was just going to bring that up, that I think maybe we have to look at tax exemptions because, as I said earlier, every time we give a tax exemption, that's less money coming into the city. And, you know, we're on a fine line right now. So I think we have to look at, and as CAO White said, churches we can't. They are automatic. We don't have a choice in that. But I think we have to look at the criteria and tighten things up.
Linda?
For council's reference, Schedule F is available and we've got it on the screen here.
I'll give everyone a minute
It
to
is
read that.
small.
I'll give everyone a minute to read that. Councillor Charney.
I have another question on that. I don't understand why it's only $1,381 for taxes. That's a large piece of property. It's got a house on it. I had a vacant lot, not that size, and I had to pay more than that. So is there already a tax exemption on that piece of property? Why, I mean, a regular house pays more than $1,381. So I'm wondering why taxes are so cheap on that piece of property.
Utilities.
CFO, Jimmy?
So we've used the philanthropic rate against property value assessment, residential, calculating that amount. So that's what drives that. We're not premising it as commercial.
Councillor Richard?
Well, the reason I support this is because the group, as they mentioned, won't be just for Indigenous. It was going to be a center for people to meet. And I think it's a good use of the property. Also, if we have the others using it and qualifying, like CAO White said, I think that we have to follow suit, because not following suit as what we've done for others would actually put us in a negative position. And also, they're still paying for the utilities and services for the building. So that's one thing, is that when you're thinking of taxes on a home, you're thinking about the property, and then there's the hospital portion and the utilities and everything like that as a whole. So they're still paying that. This is just the city portion of the tax. So still paying the utilities and the sewer parcel. So that's the only exemption that they're getting.
Councillor Rogan?
So I am in favor of supporting this item. So I feel like CNA has met the requirements, the current criteria that we have. If there is a need to review that criteria, that's something that we can do. But at this time, it would be unfair to disqualify them because of this.
Anyone else? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Didn't see your hand go up, Paul, so you voted in favor. That's the way it works. No hand, you go in favor, so carried. Oh, you're allowed to be. No problem there. New business. Specs on Bailey House quarterly report. Mr. Jack Pullmans to present. Melodic tones of Mr. Jack Pullmans. It's all yours, sir.
Is it on? Okay.
It is.
The first question I have is, do you want me to read the whole report, or have you read it and just want to ask some questions? There's a lot of stats in there that is very boring to read or to talk about. Do you want to hear the whole report or just ask some questions?
I think I've read it. Does anybody else need clarity on this? I mean, the questions that I would have, Jack, is what do you see 2024 looking like with what we see here? Do you see it improving? And I mean, I'm sure the wildfires and stuff had a lot to do with this. How do you see 2024 shaping up?
Well, we believe that 24 is going to be much better. People are settling down now back to the good old days. And we've had our problems, of course, as it says in the report, with the fires and The only thing we didn't put in the report was, of course, people read about our hospital always being closed is another factor that would definitely affect tourism. But I know that's going to be solved too, isn't it, Mr. Mayor?
It is, we're almost there.
So if there's any questions at all or any suggestions, please, this is your chance.
Well, I just want to say we appreciate the Bailey House. We appreciate the volunteerism that goes into it. We appreciate, I mean, most people when they say to me they're going to the Bailey House, they're going for the free ice cream most of the time, or the ice cream. And the tours through the house, it's a real gem to have, and it's run really well. And I appreciate the volunteerism of everybody that's there, and it does our community a service to have that house and society running it. So I take my hat off to you guys. You guys do a lot of good work there, and we've used it several times as a family, and we'll probably continue to use it as we move along. So that's my spiel. I appreciate it, Jim.
Well, thank you very much.
Councilor Hogan?
Thank you for the information, Mr. Pullmans.
Okay.
We appreciate what you do for the community as a society. So we do that. It was interesting to see the stats. 80% of the visitors were only here for the same day visits. As we have discussed in the past, we have to work together with the other organizations to be able to increase that stay. So maybe one day Mr. Pullman is going to report to us and say, okay, now it's 80% and they are staying 4 days instead of 1. So that is our goal. So but thank you so much for the stats.
Okay, thank you very much. And looking outside, Merry Christmas.
So we have a recommendation that council receive for information the 2023 third quarter report for the Merritt Visitor Center at the Bailey House. Councilor Etchart, Councilor Charney, any other questions that we have? Those in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. 8.2, 2022 annual report. I have a recommendation that council receive the City of Merritt 2022 annual report, including the consolidated audited financial statements for 2022, permissive tax exemptions, a report on municipal services and operations and municipal objectives. Get that moved by somebody. Councilor Egan, Councilor Petrosi. Questions on what was in your package? Anything that struck you that you needed to have an answer to? I thought it was very well done. I appreciate the work that went into it. It was done really well. I think any questions that anybody would have would be answered. I think it gives a good where we're going, what we offer, and where we've been, and the things that we're working on. So I appreciate the work Kim has done on this, and I really appreciate the picture of Mr. Green there. He's looking pretty serious in his vest. But no, I really appreciate it, and I'll be keeping a copy of this as we move along. Any questions at all that anybody had? Any queries? Any comments? Councilor Charney.
This was just with regards to public works. There's 2 sections to the public works here, engineering and public works. Mr. Green is here. What role in dikes does the city do? I know it's provincial, but what responsibility does the municipality have towards the maintenance and keeping an eye on the dikes?
Don't sit in the back next time.
Well, trying to avoid being in the limelight. The city is required on 3 dikes to do annual inspections. They are regulated dikes. There are a number of other ad hoc dikes around the community that don't qualify under that. And one of the regulated dikes is probably in a position right now where it could go into the orphan dike or be orphaned anyways or decommissioned at some point. I've had recent communications to that end anyways, trying to figure out what to do with these. And then obviously a couple of them have been impacted by the flood. So our job is to inspect them every year with a qualified inspection agency. They give us a list of deficiencies, very much like we would with a bridge all the time, of things we need to fix. And then we'd have to enlist maintenance activities to maintain them. The one thing we have noticed over the years, probably for a lack of familiarity, is a lot of the dikes have become overgrown. And from what I understand, learning about these, because we didn't really have these in Alberta that I got to deal with on this level, is a lot of the growth that's on them, the fairly large trees that are there now, back when the dikes were instituted, were not desirable at that time. and they've grown and probably shouldn't have been allowed to grow. So now they're providing other services such as beavers like them, can walk up the river with them. They also provide shade for the fish and just general aesthetics and whatnot. So they do have other purposes, but there's a whole bunch of things in there that we're going to have to, I hate to say the word, get better at understanding and going forward. But we are responsible for inspecting and then maintaining the regulated dikes, which there are 3 of them, and they're going to be growing obviously over the next little while as the recovery projects continue.
What are those 3 dikes?
129, 130, and I know it doesn't help you.
No.
129 and 130, I think, were the ones on the Coldwater, and then there's one small one over on the Nicola. Don't remember its number.
Yeah, because that was one thing I was going to bring up with the trees. You know, as I walked along there, I was amazed at really lack of the height of a dike and also the trees growing up on the dike. And I know personally myself, I have a dike behind me, and I kill the cottonwoods, but a lot are not killed that are growing up in that new dike that's, what, 19, 18 years old. So we have that dike where we're going to have the same problem. The cottonwoods are growing up, and they're going to cause a problem. So that's what I was wondering on the public works. And basically, do you have a number of how many management in public works and how many field workers?
How do you define management?
Management are ones that don't leave the building or are doing visible work day to day in the public eye.
Zero management.
Okay, so that one didn't go very well.
So let the CAO's White's jumping out of her seat. Let's go.
What we would call those staff are working management, right? So they're all in the field,
Okay.
also picking up some of that work, right? So they're either providing direct supervision on a project that they're doing, or they may have shovel in hand for certain things. So when we talk about managers, what we're talking about is people who have a responsibility to supervise other people. So in public works, all of those are field. They have offices. I don't know if they ever see them, maybe first thing in the morning, but there's a lot of on-site supervision that happens with those staff.
So how many workers actually are out every day in the gardens, on the streets? Boots on the ground, thank you.
Short answer again, probably all of them. I don't have an exact head count because I didn't come prepared for that. But what I can tell you is I think we're any given day somewhere in the 30, 35 range that are out doing work, and largely including, you know, myself and our engineering tech as well that are out doing assessments and looking after projects and things like that as well. So what you'll find is the entire group between engineering and public works, we're all very field oriented one way or the other. And that's largely for a lack of width, I guess, and depth in our workforce, where we have to do a number of different things rather than focus on more, say, office work, for instance. Me as a director, I still go out and do field work. You won't see me with a shovel. My hands get a little bit roughed up that way, but you will see me out there doing inspections and making programs up and things like that we need to work on.
Thank you.
Does that help?
Yes.
Okay.
You done? Well, while you're looking for it,
I got it.
just so we know with the dike, I've asked for a provincial dike strategy because I think we need it, and I think we asked for that down at UBCM. We suggested to the minister that we have that, and I've actually written that as well to Mr. Ma and Mr. Kang, and federally as well. So I think we need a dike strategy. I hate the word orphan dike. It worries me, and that means nobody's looking after it. CEO Smith. Wait, dang it.
I think that it's really important. I think it's a good question, Councillor Turney, because we have to start thinking as we're looking at our long-term maintenance, but also our long-term renewal and replacement plan, is that the dikes will have to be a part of that. We may or may not get complete funding in 50 or 60 years to renew those dikes, but we have to be planning for what that cost may be. So if it costs us $1.5 million to do a section of dike right now, we have to anticipate putting $1.5 million in the bank for that piece of that section of diking, knowing that that's not going to cover the cost because inflation will happen. But that's part of our asset management requirements that we're going to have to meet this year, is knowing that we have those assets and what are those going to cost. And the director of finance and I will be working very hard to get our asset management and our long-term 20-year financial plan for capital infrastructure in place in 2024, so that you can see when we're saying every year we need to put $300,000 in the bank to renew our infrastructure over the next 20 years. It's really key. Otherwise, we end up with critical infrastructure that we cannot renew. Right. So, and the federal and provincial governments don't have any more money, then, they're not getting richer.
They're just not handing any out.
If I may, I'd like to augment a little bit as well, and this is me up on my soapbox a little bit. The thing we have to understand about a lot of the things that have been going on the last 10, 15 years, if you look around, you've probably noticed a fair bit yourself of the turnover that the city's had. So the things I notice when I'm digging through files trying to find things is a lot of things have been started, the right actions have been being taken, but then possibly something's turned over or a body's turned over and something lands on a shelf and we see another pair of hands on something here and another pair of hands there. There hasn't really been a good cohesive focus going forward in quite some time. And seeing what I see, I think it's largely the fact that we don't have that consistency in staff for a good long period of time that are managing those types of programs really in the office because of the turnover. What we are trying to do in a lot of the asset management talk you will hear about going forward is we have to get this to the point where when there is turnover, somebody can walk into someplace, look in an up-to-date file, read it, and understand where we're going in a very short period of time and carry on, rather than try and dig and dig and dig and try and find things, try to reestablish or put their own mark on things. In a lot of cases, a lot of that's what it is we got an idea and we flash and put that idea on something, but it's not continuous with what the plan has been before, because the plan gets lost because it's on a shelf somewhere. The dikes are one of those things where, probably for a lack of ability, and if you look at crack filling on our roads, if you look at dike maintenance, you look at bridge maintenance and inspections, there's a lot of things going on that are required to happen on a regular basis, pothole filling. And I'll never be the one to stand up and say, we got to double our staff to get all this stuff done. We have to reprioritize and focus on what I'd call building blocks and the basics of public works service, because our people largely do maintenance. And we have to widen out our skill set so we can go at everything in an organized fashion and get things done. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like a lot of that's been continuous effort. It's either been a flood or a fire or something that interrupts the process and or turnover of staff. And you can see those interruptions in the files all the way through things. And that's one of the things that we're going to have to correct and are really responsible to correct, which in my mind is, if I live for another 2 years, 6 months, 10 years, don't know. But the goal is to leave what I've got responsible better than I found it. And that's always the goal, especially with infrastructure management, is slow improvement. You can't just snap your fingers and throw $100 million at everything every year and expect it to be perfect. We're spending good money this year and it's really hard to keep up with. Does that help? Okay, I'll get off my soapbox then.
Last question, Councillor Turner.
It's not on Public Works.
Oh. Can I get you to hit that button there, Mr. Green?
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Maybe a little wrong on this, but when I read economic development, what immediately comes to my brain is bringing in businesses and developing our town. To me, there's an overlap here. One of the initiatives, support for expansion of events, festivals, and tourism initiatives, support for initiatives to promote community spirit and enhance community's image. That, to me, in my opinion, doesn't fall under the economic development branch. Right now we have TNV, and I think we're overlapping here. And I don't understand how that comes under economic development, especially when we're struggling to get businesses into town. and we need businesses. I think we have to look at why are we spending this time on festivals and tourism under economic development umbrella.
So you wait.
So tourism is always, well, not always, most often a part of the economic development portfolio. With TNV, you have a destination marketing organization, not a program development organization, right? That's what you've allocated them as, is a destination marketing organization. So they're marketing. They're not necessarily, have not necessarily been given the whole tourism portfolio. Those are different things. So developing things like festivals or events is sort of the thing that makes the community the community. So you'll see in a lot of communities, economic development will often fall under community services because there's a lot of overlap between planning big events like that and our recreation, culture, arts, and leisures activities. So you'll see there's a lot of collaboration between those staff. But developing things that draw people to our community to spend money is economic development. It is getting people to stay for 4 days because we have events happening and they're going to spend money in town. Alternatively, there's business development, so finding ways to encourage new business to come to town, whether that be tax relief programs or because housing is still inexpensive and we can sell that, or we have a certain skilled workforce that we can identify in the community. So there's still a lot of work for us to do on some of these things about who we are marketing everything to. But TNV, from the resolution that was made in January, you've identified them as a marketing organization, not an events or programming organization. Different portfolios, different jobs.
Yeah, I don't want to be controversial, but it seems to me when they gave us our presentation, they were doing events and things like that. And, economic development, I think, should really concentrate on bringing tax dollars into town through businesses. And I think maybe tourism we could find somewhere else, tourism and festivals. But to me, economic development is the number one key thing to our town. And I don't think we can afford to split it and have someone 1 foot here and 1 foot there. I think we have to have a concentrated effort on economic development and not splitting it with tourism and festivals. And where we already have an organization that, yes, they may be targeted as marketing, but when you listen to their presentation, they've gone beyond that, and they are doing festivals and events. And our Chamber of Commerce also is now wanting to do all of this too. So we seem to me we've got 3 people or organizations vying for the same type of event.
So that's why we need to have a memorandum of understanding to lay out where everybody needs to go. Some people have jumped out of their bailiwick faster than they should have. And the city always has to have an input for tourism. We always have to have our foot in that game. We can't have people speaking for the city that do not belong to the city. So we'll always have our foot in that arena.
Well, I can agree with that. I just think it shouldn't be under such a huge, important umbrella.
COA.
To Councillor Charney, could potentially think about it more like for things like those festivals. We don't actually want to organize festivals. We want to be the people that they come to and say, this is what we're going to do. How can you support us by giving us connections, contacts? Is there funding available to us? Can you help us write a grant? Those are the kinds of things that our economic development officer can support. So it might not be primarily that person in that seat is out there doing all the programming, but as an organization, we provide a resource and a tool to people so that person can provide all of that guidance, because it might be people who want to organize something who've never done such a thing before. right? And our economic development officer is going to be our representative in how the community is represented. So, you know, there's a little bits of everything that EDO does. And one of the things that I think councils struggle with is how long it takes to see returns on an investment in economic development. Huge amounts of time, like, you know, 10 years on a project, because, you know, inviting businesses to our community, what makes our community better than another community, right? And who are we marketing to? What kinds of businesses do we want to see? How do we want to market ourselves as a business community? What kind of employees do we have here? What resources do we have here that are strengths? Where are weaknesses? Where do we have gaps? Where do we need to try and fill those gaps in order to draw certain markets of businesses to the community? So that's kind of where, you know, that part comes in. But that EDO is also there to be a resource for community members who might want to do certain projects. Now, my experience with Chamber of Commerce is that they're member driven. So specifically, they're there to support the businesses that currently exist, not necessarily businesses that might want to exist. And again, I haven't gotten in with this chamber. I don't know what their, you know, how they operate, but that's my experience with Chamber of Commerce, is that, you know, they represent who's here, who's paying their dues, and they want to protect the interests of those businesses. They don't necessarily seek new businesses to come into the community. And somebody can correct me if I'm wrong on that. And then with TNV, again, they presented a great deal of information to you and a great deal of potential, but those are not things that they've discussed with the organization, the City of Merritt. So we have to have those conversations. We have to have conversations, and often our EDO is the liaison with those organizations, right? Because the EDO knows what our strategic plan is, what our strategic goals are, and how they know what our budget is, and they know how we want to meet those goals. So they are often our representative in those discussions with the chamber or our destination marketing organization, or, you know, the society that runs the Bailey House. And so tourism does fit under economic development for those reasons. I don't think Marilyn I don't think she wants to organize any big festivals.
So just a classic example of this is the drag race that happened up at the airport. They got a hold of Marilyn. Marilyn came to myself and a couple others, and then once we all approved it, then it went to TNV once it was a go. So that's the way that worked. TNV then did the marketing. City didn't do any of it, or we did a little bit of marketing, and that's the way it's supposed to work. So, you know, it does look like it's double touching and triple touching, but we still have to have our a little bit, Councillor Etchart.
Thank you, Mayor. With economic development, the other piece that people forget about is sometimes you get that call into the community with somebody who's looking around for the space that maybe we don't have the zoning for that business, or maybe people are wondering what kind of inventory we have that could, you know, the inquiries that could come around. And I think that's where Marilyn does a good job about showcasing our community to maybe those interested people. And even though it's not marketing for tourism, but with TNV, I think that there's a lot of inquiries that she probably gets all the time that we have no idea about until it's something big. Because for the few years that I've known Marilyn, even before she worked for the city, she was always networking with different people and always seemed to have lots of answers for us. So, you know, tourism is one part, and as long as we can work with all these groups as well, there's just so many things. I mean, remember the old chocolate factory that was going to come here back in 2012 at Ross's and others, right? So that's where we have our EDO having that point of contact that's really going to answer those questions and say, well, maybe there's a plot up here on Midi Valley Road, or maybe there's something up near Coldwater, whatever, and maybe they can talk to planning, and they do all that stuff that we don't even hear about until it's some kind of plan. So that's why I enjoyed the report, because I know, well, there's a lot happening behind the scenes that we don't hear about until it's a zoning change.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thanks. Yeah, exactly.
Councillor Rogan?
So I have to say that Councillor Charney has raised a great point. Actually, I agree with her. So, but Having said that, I encourage all the councilors to meet with our economic development officer, Merlin, because she is doing what prior council instructed to do. So there was an economic development plan approved, I believe it was in 2018, if I'm not mistaken, and tourism is one of those key factors that she needs to work on. I feel the same way. I feel like there are different organizations. TMB, Bailey House dealing with tourism as well. Community Features dealing with community economic development. Chamber of Commerce dealing with our current business here. So I would like to see our economic development officer dealing with business attraction so that we can have a positive impact with our tax revenue from all these big organizations. So there is a way that we can, in my dream, it would be finish this term where there is a memorandum of understanding not only with TMB, but also with the Chamber of Commerce, but also with community features to be able to work together because there is some organizations, some actions that are overlapping. But it is important to understand who is responsible for. And I also agree with Mayor Getz that we should have some input with what type of tourism, what kind of actions from this industry we want to see in our community through TMB. So I believe there was a meeting a few months ago where Chamber of Commerce representative, community features, city representative, and TMB were meeting together to discuss what was the right approach. And I'm not sure why it stopped, but we would like to see that happening again, where we can work together to be able to meet those targets, to meet those goals that everyone wants to see here happening in.
Councillor Egan.
Thank you. I agree as well with Councillor Carney and when I first read this, I was actually a little taken aback. I wish I would have seen this, I wish I would have asked or been given this report from last year as well, because I don't really, I see the overlap, and probably that's why in the past I haven't been a member of the Chamber of Commerce, because I always thought that the Chamber, my experience with the Chamber in Kelowna was that if you wanted to do business and you were just coming into town, you could go there, get the orientation of the community, then find out who to go and talk to if you business. So then you would go to the city, talk about permits, talk about opportunities in the city limits. I just find it a little bit bizarre that all of these groups, ourselves included, are dealing with kinds of things. I mean, years ago when I worked for the Friendship Center, I created a program called Project TED, and it was tourism for economic development. And the 3 staff that we hired for the 4 or 5 months, they worked with all of it. We put together a multicultural festival. We helped with rodeo. We put horseshoe steps showing the trail to get to the rodeo grounds and that kind of thing. I understand that tourism does bring in a lot of dollars for the community, but I don't necessarily think job. I think we should narrow our scope, and I agree that we need to have a meeting with the other groups.
Sure button.
Thank you. I do want to remind you, this is the 2022 report. So this is before Tourism Nicola Valley was designated as your marketing organization, before any of these meetings started happening. Our intention is to continue on with trying to strengthen these relationships and defining roles. I think one of the things we're also missing is a stronger marketing plan in general, in regards to, again, you can have an economic development plan, but sometimes that plan doesn't tell you who you're attracting, what types of businesses what does our workforce look like? What is our available land most conducive to types of businesses? So there's a lot of marketing work that we still need to do, and we'll be presenting you with an updated strategic plan next month, where we'll talk about how we might be able to move some of these things forward through focusing on in the economic development strategy and, what needs to be updated and who are we attracting? We're going to attract innovative green businesses. Do we want to attract a coal mine? Do we want to, we need to know what we want in order to keep moving forward. Otherwise, we just are like, attract businesses. Okay. Ooh.
The other thing I just wanted to say is that if it's our community economic development officers' role to help people with grants and those kinds of things that you alluded to earlier, that's what it stayed in this.
And I think that's where, if we work on an MOU with all of the groups, these kind of things would be sussed out as we move along. Marilyn, would you like to say something? I see you keep moving forward here, so.
Thank you, Your Worship, councillors. Thank you for this great conversation. Absolutely. There's a lot of questions, a lot of things that are happening behind the scenes that you don't necessarily hear about until it comes to the forefront. With respect to events and festivals, I have, since I've been here in this position, have never organized an event. I have only been collaborating with our organizations, with our Nicola Valley Rodeo Association, with our Tourism Nicola Valley, with our Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber of Commerce takes it on and we support them, whether it's letters of support, whether it's being at their table, listening to the conversations. Yes, you're absolutely right. Economic development, we do focus on new businesses and attracting the businesses coming into town. We have some of our existing businesses that are going to be having a farm to table restaurant that is coming, and they're collaborating with an action sports company. And these are exciting things that are coming up and that are going to be happening in our community. So yes, we do have to have part of it and understand our economic development strategy. Those particular initiatives have been taken directly out of the economic development strategy that was passed by previous mayor and council. So these are strategies that we're tasked with doing, and tourism was all throughout it, and that was before our mayor and council designated TNV as a DMO. So we're working together, and as Mayor had suggested, what we're doing is in the background working on our different portfolios and finding out exactly who's responsible for what, because we have so many passionate people in our community that want to do so many things. And we're thrilled, like even as far as events that are happening and down at Spirit Square and our Nicola Valley Arts Council, so many things that happen in our community that take a lot of volunteers, a lot of people to make these things happen. For example, we had a brand new business come upstairs. They pay a $50 application fee today. I'm starting a new business. This is what it looks like. They send them to me. I start talking to them. This is what you need to do. Part of this is also directing them to the Chamber of Commerce, our Community Futures. We've got a new business in town. Can we help them out? What can we do? How can we get them part of our community? And then they start to build. And that's how we build it. And the Chamber of Commerce, we're working with them so that they have a package that they can give to economic development, so that I can give new businesses that are coming in, so they have opportunities to work together. And that's how we build the fabric of our economic development portfolio for our city of Merritt, for our community, as well as our new businesses, Barkman Concrete, Element Agriculture, take you on a tour. Things like that take time on our businesses. We have meetings with Vancouver developers, then they're just initial meetings to find out what permits do they need, what development permits do they need, what does that look like, what are they going to do, what type of land do we have to offer them, how are we working together. So yes, absolutely, I'm thrilled that there's so much interest because it is such an important portfolio for our city.
Thank you, Marilyn. So just again, an example, Commander Keith Stewart out of somewhere down on the coast, I think it's Esquimalt, got a hold of me about the Air Cadets coming up here for summer training. I gave that information to Marilyn, who then got a hold of Major Stewart, Major Stewart and his crew came up, had a look. I believe, Marilyn, you took them on a tour. I believe, Rick, you were part of that, I think. So then they will come back, and once that they start to deal through Maryland and start to say that, start making some commitments that they're going to be coming, then we would hand that to TNV so people in the Valley would be able to understand what's happening. So that's how it starts. So, and that's kind of how the system goes. But I think once we get to an MOU, we'll be a lot more, and that'll be on us to get there, right? Councillor Robin.
It's a quick question, so if I may, I understand the process, how it takes, to attract a business into our community. We are competing with other bigger municipalities that they can offer sometimes better things that we can't. We have to, think outside the box and try to, to make our community look appealing for them. So how many applications have you finalized from our prior economic development officer? Because I'm hoping that anything that you are working on, so it can take 3, 4, 5 years until we can see the results. So, but I wish I could hear that right now you are already finalizing all those applications that were started with the prior person.
What type of applications are you talking about?
Any type of
Councillor?
business, any type of new business that the prior person, the economic development officer before started, and now you are continuing. Do we have any of those right now that you are working on from the prior person?
From the person who, well, from predecessors, there's probably about 10 that I'm aware of that are in the system that we're helping along. Element Agriculture was part of them. Barkman Concrete was part of that portfolio. And there's probably about 40 new businesses that have got new business licenses here in the past year, in 2022.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mayor. Any other questions? Recommendation has been, we have the recommendation on the floor and everything already. I think it was, I ran it through when I first got here. Yep. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Good discussion. Notice of motion. Councillor Etcher, you got a question about.
All right.
Councillor Etcher.
So I have a motion that council direct staff to report back on options for requiring owners to repair and remediate homes that have had catastrophic events such as fire damages occur. Little bit concerned with some of the dwellings that are around that maybe are just sitting with no action for a long period of time.
So will you get that in writing to Linda at some point? Any other notices? I don't think we have discussion on notices of motion. Do we? Not sure. Hold on. It's the first time it's happened.
Yeah, a notice of motion is brought forward here. It'll be placed on the next agenda.
So we don't discuss anything about it at this point. Anything else, Councillor Richard?
Not at this
You're
time.
still lit up there.
Thanks.
Reports from council. Who would like to go first if they have anything? Okay, I'll go. September 27th, I met with Lori Trammell from the Chamber of Commerce. She has recently come back. Lori used to be Lori Jones, if anybody knows who that is, and she's recently come back with quite the fire to get the community up and running with certain things, and I've met with her 3 times, and she has some very good ideas, which we'll end up handing over to Marilyn at some point in time. So it was a very good meeting. October 1st, I went to along with others, the protest. I wanted to thank the New Denver people plus the mayor for going out at the same time as we did. October 3rd and 4th, I spent some time at the food bank. I went down both mornings to watch how that works. And I happened to be there on a good day because Trans Mountain brought in 5 gigantic vans full of food because they're shutting down. And it's a real eye-opener to, they see about 70 people a day for 3 straight days, Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. So if you've got any time on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, I would suggest you go down and see Vanya and sit there and watch what happens, see how they're brought in, go through the system and what they get for food. So it is a very growing industry, and it's unfortunately that it is, but it is. October 12th and 13th, I was at the TNRD, and on the same night when I got back, I had a Zoom call with Ministry of Health, ADM Mark Armitage, and IHA exec Diane Schindrick. One of the concerns that I have is that we, even at UBCM, we have met with the ministry and we've been told a lot of things, but we've got no numbers to back any of it up. So I've said, you know, we need to see some numbers. We need to see, and that's what you guys got the other day from me, is that we're pushing for some sort of concrete numbers and not just this spouting off. We actually need to see something because we've been down several times. We're still having hospital issues, and we need to see some concrete answers on that. October 18th, 40th anniversary up at NVIT. It was a really enjoyable time and a big surprise. We got to see a Susan Gluckart, which was amazing. Fantastic Canadian artist who is, as far as I'm concerned, up there with Anne Murray and Gordon Lightfoot. And I really liked the presentation. She would speak and then she would sing over top of one of her videos behind her. And her voice is just as amazing now as it was then. It was a great night. The food was fantastic. The atmosphere was fantastic. It was very real. Some people were really real about what was going on. And it was really nice to see that 40 years ago, like even seeing Ken Durant 40 years ago, I mean, what he looks like today, it's quite different, but it was really enjoyable, and I was glad that council was there. October 19th, St. Mike's Breadbasket anniversary. That was nice to attend. Most council was there. They've done a great job in this valley as well. And then the 20th, I had another meeting with Kathy Duell and Diane Schindrick on hospital and nurse retention. I needed some information on that, which you guys also got. And there are some steps in there that are kind of written in stone, so hopefully we get to where we're hoping to get to. Today, is it the 23rd today? I don't know. October 23rd, I had an interview with Trucker Magazine about logging trucks and how the Merritt Valley is being supported by logging and the history of logging in the past. Talked to guys like Popeye and Larry, that crew, and how things have gone and how we were at 5 mills at one time and where we are now. And it was kind of interesting, and I think they will be contacting a couple of the logging truck drivers and companies in town to get there, so that'll be in Trucker Magazine. Just a reminder, tomorrow 9:30, coffee with a cop up at McDonald's if you're so inclined, and that's all I have. Councillor Etcher.
I think you covered probably everything, and that's great. There was a couple, I know that for myself, who is also involved with ESS, and they're always looking for members to volunteer for the community. And I also was at the NVIT with everybody else, and it was great. And probably you can't really think of everything that's going on all at once because there's a lot happening all the time. We have a busy community, and it was just nice that when we do get invited to things that we show up because we have an amazing community and different groups working together, putting on nice events. And yeah, I think you covered most everything, so thanks.
Let's see who wins here. Councillor Ogan.
I just want to start by saying thank you, Mayor Getz, for how active you are in the community. So you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
So my report is very short. So I had a meeting on October 5th with Kamloops Immigration Services. There are 2 initiatives that we will let you know soon. In one of those initiatives, I have invited Councillor Charney to join and take the lead. But again, that's going to be something that we will bring forward in due time. October 18th, I had the opportunity to also attend the NVIT, the 40th anniversary, as the mayor said. So food was great. It was done by the culinary arts in that institution, so that was all good. Upcoming events, so a reminder, October 28th, we have the community potluck that Kamloops Immigration Services is taking the lead. So that is this Saturday from 12 to 3 p.m., room 23. Hope to see people there. Thank you.
Councillor Charney, you're up.
There's one event that you both missed.
Sure, I'm sure there is.
October 18th, Lunch and Learn for UNDRIP. And it was very informative. Unfortunately, we had lunch, and then we went to NVIT, which was a full-blown meal with appetizers and everything. And I felt like a little Porky Pig at that night. But NVIT was fantastic. Great. Susan Gluckart was a great speaker. Even though Adam, our Councillor Etchart, did not know who Susan Gluckart was. You didn't know. Anyway, it was a great evening. There were a lot of people there. It was nice to see the community supporting NVIT, and just a great evening overall. October 19th, I also attended the open house at the Anglican Church, and it's a fantastic job that those people do. The meal that they give out, they made for us that night, and I had no complaints about that. We are certainly well fed as council. ESS, I echo Councillor Etchart, encourage people to volunteer for ESS. We need people to help out when there is an event. So I would encourage anybody to contact, I think it's CAO White at this time for ESS, if anyone wants to volunteer. And I have marked down the potluck. I just have to remember to look at my calendar. And that's it for me. Oh, I did celebrate my birthday on Sunday.
Happy 95th.
73.
So, sorry.
And that's it for me.
Thank you. Councilor Petrosi.
Yes, and I attended the NVIT 40th year anniversary also with all of you, and the food was incredible. Susan Glue-Clark, her music, she's quite the speaker, motivational speaker. Incredible. Actually brought tears to my eyes. And you know what? My wife didn't know who Susan Glue-Clark was either, so
Go for it.
Since you all assume I don't know who she is, I didn't know her last name, but I do know her songs.
So you enjoyed the art?
And did all of you happen to read her history, the date of birth, where she grew up, and none of it? When she was?
What's her license plate number?
Well, she doesn't.
Oh.
She's not a BC resident, so I wouldn't know that. And do you guys know the names of the communities? Do you know the community where she was born? Did you get to read up? I mean, come on, like let's not challenge.
Yeah.
Let's not go for details now.
So
words.
So you enjoyed the artist named Susan?
Yes, I did.
Excellent.
And now I will make sure to study up on that. I knew her music.
Prince.
I just didn't know that.
It's like Prince, right? Or Cher, or Susan.
You know, some of us on council have a different birth date than some others, and maybe we didn't always know people's last names. I apologize. I hope to be a little bit better with the last names when I grow up.
Back to Councilor Petrosi.
Thank you.
okay, November 19th, also attended the Anglican Church soup kitchen. Met their volunteers, and the Tuesday before, I was told they fed 128 people. 128, incredible. So incredible job that they're doing there. So thank you.
Anyone else? Oh, Councilor Egan.
Forgotten one. Yeah, I also met with Lori Jones on a number of her or Lori Jamel, pardon me. Also went to the gala, which again was fabulous. The learn was very interesting. Super Bowl bread basket, that was really left with full tummy, and yeah, it was great. Why they like going there, because they're friendly people. It's a nice drop-in place. Good month. I know. Sorry, one more thing. I brought my certificate
Oh, yeah.
from my summer course that I took in the Indigenous Cultural Safety.
Excellent. Congratulations. Anything else? I'll get you to kick it. There you go. Information items. So we have a number of things there. We also have two late items there, 11.6, 11.7. Anybody want to talk about anything or have any questions about anything that is there? Councilor Richard.
I think it's important for us to really take a note of what's happened in the update information for bylaw services, whether it be the lighting, the bathrooms, how much time is being spent for cleanup, the number of shopping carts that are all over town. We have a lot to consider, and of course we're going into budget, and I think earlier when Councillor Charney was talking about the number of staff with boots on the ground, she was probably thinking about in past where we had the budgets with the FTEs and we had departmental amounts of so many FTEs for different departments. And last year when we had to increase the FTEs full-time equivalents for the pool, because when you didn't have people scheduled, they would have to reduce services because we had more part-time staff before, and they were only included as maybe a 0.5, and so that was, I think, done maybe in budget before this council. So we had more part-time, and then I think there was a full-time position replaced for an FTE that was done before. But anyway, when we look at some of these things in the report for bylaw, there's a lot of work that's happening there, and we really have to think of what we're going into as we make consideration for budget, because there's a lot of work that is happening there. And I think that if we have these expectations, we're going to have to really consider that coming up since we're going into budget.
Bit. Well, I'm going to have to go with, you got to hit your mic so I can see you blinking. Councillor Charney.
Snooze, you lose. I'll go back to this report, and thank you, Linda. It's an excellent update. Concerned me was this 204 shopping carts. Is there not a way that we could make a bylaw or whatever?
All right, everybody remain calm. No, shall we let the CA on here?
She doesn't know what I'm going to say, but go ahead, go ahead. I was just going to say, is there no way that we can say, okay, store A, we have picked up 10 of your carts. We are now going to charge you for pickup, storage, disposal. It goes on your taxes. To me, that's simple.
I've already been to talk to these people already.
Yeah, but they're not listening.
They don't care.
The only way to do it is hit them in the pocket.
Well, we have another plan, but anyways.
Okay, so maybe that's where this hand comes up from. But that was one of my things. If they're not going to listen to the mayor, they're not going to listen to city staff, hit them where it hurts.
Well, let the CAO talk, and then I'll tell you what my plan is.
Okay.
You're up.
My plan's always the best plan. I 100% think Councillor Charney's on the right track. I know that there's been discussions with some of the stores that are more frequently shopping carts leaving their grounds, and they're not open to investing in the system that stops the shopping cart at the end of their property. But our bylaw officer spends approximately 30% of his time dealing with shopping carts annually. 30% of his time annually dealing with shopping cart issues. It's a pretty significant amount of time. And there has to be a way for us to mitigate that or cost recover on that. And I think, the Director of Corporate Services and I have had some discussions about this. The bylaw officer and I have had some discussions about this. And we agree there has to be a way to force the hand, deal with, just like we do with anybody else who we have to remediate a situation that they're creating.
So just to let you know, I had a meeting with Sean from Extra Foods. Is it Extra Foods? Save On. Now, he does make an attempt to get these carts back. He will go on weekends and try and find them and bring them back. But he's, like he said, he's only one guy. Now, we've asked about chaining them up, but people just destroy them to get to the carts. So there has been some conversation. I have had some conversation with Wes about this. And it's not only the fact that it's 30% of the time with the carts, it's also what's in the carts that he has to deal with as well. And sometimes it's extremely dangerous stuff that's in those carts. And we have to hold on to all that for 30 days. So now we end up with this rodeo of shopping cart and stuff that's in the shopping cart. And 9 times out of the 10, when the shopping cart is out in the open, it's because they don't want it anymore. But we still have to hold on to that stuff for 30 days. So I won't say it out loud. I need to talk to the CAO and Linda as well about my view on how we handle it in the future. But it'll be a final situation. Just to give you a number, Save On, our bylaw officer has picked up 90 carts this year. That's almost all of the carts that are in Save On. So at several $1,000s a piece for a cart, if those start to disappear, that'll be a bottom line situation that somebody will have to answer to. How come all of our shopping carts are gone? well, you know, the city tried this, didn't work. Anyways, we're working towards it, but I see a lot of lights flickering here, so let's see who's next. Councillor Richard.
The only thing I just wanted to add about that is that just having the discussion, that there's a lot happening out there. And bylaw spending so much time with that, that if there's focus so much on carts, then how are we dealing with the other concerns that people might have? And so as we go into these positions and considerations, if we want a lot to happen with other enforcement with bylaw, maybe it's infractions or different things that are not being addressed, or parking, you know, maybe we need to add more there, you know, just a consideration, because it's a lot that you don't really think about, because you assume that one person can do everything, but our bylaw officer can't be everywhere all the time. So, anyway.
Thank you.
And the carts, it's probably even higher now. Thanks.
That was just one store. Councillor Turner.
Anecdotal comment. I was in Canmore, no, Banff, and had some stuff in the cart, pushed it along, and Lloyd was on the sidewalk. I was going to take the cart to the sidewalk. I hit a certain spot, and bam, that cart just stopped. And no matter what I did, that little sucker would not move because it hit this line, and that was it. Finally, a attendant came, and he hauled the cart away backwards, but those wheels would not move. You know, maybe we have to really encourage that type of thing. I know you've probably tried, but
It's a cost they're not willing to venture into, because they'll just destroy the magnetic brakes inside. Unless the carts are going actually inside the building, there's almost nothing that can be. They've tried a lot of things, but that we'll get to a solution. I can guarantee you on it. So, Councillor Petrosi.
Canadian Tire, every night they chain up their carts, so they're chained up. There's dumpster divers all over town, Canadian Tire, wherever, and had they ever locked dumpsters in this town? Have they ever thought about locking dumpsters?
Lots of them are.
Are they?
Yep.
Okay. It's just, it seems a lot of this stuff for the dumpsters are being.
So you have to be
these carts, right? So
you have to be careful with repetitive injury. So the dump truck driver comes up to the bin, jumps down, unlocks, goes back up, hits a slippery stair. Next thing you know, we've got a claim, right? So I think we lock, and correct me if I'm wrong, Director Green, we lock when it's something that is a constant, serious problem. Now, down around my end, around the secondary school, those are not locked. But downtown, most of them are.
Right.
And I do believe, and correct me if I'm wrong again, they are under to unlock those at a certain time before our guys show up, because I don't believe our guys jump off the truck and unload them. No, we don't. So most of the locked ones are downtown. I could be wrong on a lot, but none around my area are locked, and I check to see if they are not locked. But I will say one thing. Near me, we have that newer dumpster, I think, with the two that come this way. They're much heavier doors, and that thing hardly ever gets touched because it's just too hard to open. Most people aren't that tall and can't get them open, and there's nothing to step up on. So I'm noticing that dumpster, whatever that is working very well for our end of town. So
it was a thought. I think Powell River, actually, in their town, they lock their dumpsters. A lot of them are locked. So, and I know a lot of the items that are in these shopping carts are from the dumpsters in town. So
yes.
So I don't know.
We are working on a plan for the CAO White, I presume. You know, if you push that button and your thing blinks, I can actually know that you want to talk. So
I know, I'm so used to putting my hand up. I do want to just say, and it is challenging when, it's certainly challenging for a bylaw officer when odd things end up in those carts. But when we think about people who are living outside what many of us consider the norms of society for whatever issues, sometimes taking things out of a dumpster is the only way they get food or clothing. So thinking about those social issues, they may not always be comfortable accessing other services. And for some people, that is the primary way in which they may find a winter coat. So locking dumpsters, there's a lot of good reasons to lock the dumpsters, but there's also, you know, when we're talking about people who are not necessarily able to access or don't have the, you know, for whatever reason, have the capacity to access services, that is the way many people get the food or the clothing that they need.
Thank you. Anything else on, Councillor Egan.
On the informational items, I would just wanted to know whether or not the letter of support request for SPIAM was responded to. Were we supposed to discuss this?
I do believe it was responded to. No, sorry, my mistake. Oh, not the SPIAM. No, it was not.
So the letter of request from SPIAM, there is a request, it is in front of you. If you'd like to pass a resolution to move forward with the letter, then we can absolutely do that this evening.
I would like to, are you finished, Councillor Egan?
With that item,
So you're making a motion to,
no, I'm going to, I wanted to know if it was, had been responded to.
no, that's up to us tonight. I also would like to talk about the icebreaker supporting the Centennials this weekend. You can see the different levels there. If there's any flavor in supporting the Centennials, I would like to see if we have, Linda?
Your Worship, I'd also like to draw your attention to the request that we have on here for a size variance for a memorial plaque at Pine Ridge Cemetery.
Right. Okay. Thank you. So let's deal with the plaque first then. Sure. Sure.
So my question 11.1, letter of support. So what's difference from this letter of support? Sometimes we are just informed that we have provided a letter of support to different organizations, or in this case, it's been brought to City Council. What's the difference?
Ms. Brown? Mrs. Brown?
There was sufficient time to bring this one forward for council consideration. A resolution of council sometimes adds additional weight to the grant application as well, because then it speaks to, council has given full consideration to it, gone through the process of making a resolution, and that's being brought forward to the grant committee. So it adds additional weight to it.
So we do have this in front of us. SPIAM requesting a letter of support. I would need a mover on that. Rogan, Councillor Redchart. Any other questions to the letter of support? Those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Let's talk about the variance for plaque size at Pine Ridge Cemetery, Merritt, BC. Councillor Charney.
I personally have no problems in allowing this plaque to go ahead, even though it's larger than.
Not by much though.
Yeah. I mean, they purchased the plaque 30 years ago, and
I could be confused, but I thought we already dealt with this. But anyway.
No, that was
Okay.
on the cremation thing. What do you call it?
No,
No, it's
Columbarium.
Columbarium.
You're actually
But
both correct. You're actually both correct. There was a bylaw amendment for the columbarium to change the sizing around the door plates. And we also have had a previous request for having a in-ground marker, which is what this is as well, for the size variance. The city several years ago changed the sizing of the plaques that are allowed in the ground, and this one would be 2 inches. But it's
I mean, to me, they purchased it 30 years ago, so in my personal opinion, I don't care.
Councillor Egan.
I just wanted to know, thank you, I just wanted to know if it was going to problem is care of the lawn and everything will come.
Director Green is shaking his head no.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Redchart.
I agree with Councillor Charney. I mean, if it's a nice plaque that somebody's put money into for their loved one, I think it's important to respect that. Just approve it.
Okay, thank you. So motion to Councillor Rogan, Councillor Petrosi. Any other questions? All those in favor? Passed. The next to the letter of intent for the Merritt Centennials and the BC Fire Smart Community Resiliency. Any questions on those? They're pretty straightforward. Bylaw Services Update Report, we've already gone through that, and I think we will probably talk about that more at other deals. 11.6, the Centennial Support. Team has been in town for 51 years. Icebreaker this weekend. I would like to help them out with that. That's council's purview. I would like to make, Councillor Chair.
Is this request for this week's coming icebreaker
Yes.
that they're looking for the funds
Yes.
for?
And I have to be honest with you, I'm tardy on this. I should have gotten to you this before. I thought I did. And I found this earlier today. So this is they didn't just give me this. They gave me this a while ago and I lost it in the shuffle. So I'm responsible for this late item.
So we will have to go see what's left probably in our contingency if there's anything
That's
left, wouldn't we?
correct.
First, need to know
And
that.
that's what I was going to ask Kevin. I'm sure we have.
So the grant and aid budget is maxed for the year. There's no funds available there. This would come out of council contingency, similar to sponsorship.
Yep.
Where we fund.
And what do we have in that?
Have 19.
Pardon me?
19 and change remaining for the
Okay.
$1,000 for all council,
Yep.
not just sponsorships, but yes.
And we are coming close to the end of the year. We only have 2 months left. So I will make the motion of 3,000.
We can.
3,500. Do I hear 4? Do I hear 4?
No, no.
Sold.
You get 2,500 from.
No,
It's right there.
Or are we gonna say?
Sure, I'll support that. Up to 3,500. Any questions on this? I think it's important we support this team. So. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much. Support letter. Support letter. Right. Where am I? I'm lost. We already done the support letter? Oh, yeah, the TNV support letter, right. Okay, yeah, right there. TNV support letter. So this was when they came to us with their the old video store building where they want to put the adventure center. They're looking for grants to move that forward, and a support letter from us is what they're looking for. Everybody had a chance to read it, and we did get the presentation, which I'm sure most of you still have the package. Councilor Richard?
That was left on from
Oh,
before.
okay. Anybody opposed to a support letter? Oh, gotta push that button. There we are. CEO White.
Thank you. I just want to make sure, council considers the question of they had asked for some funds from council, but we haven't actually seen a budget. So how does this fit into that, right? Like, I don't think you should oppose the support letter, but I think this is a good indication that we need to see an actual budget plan to go with their marketing plan for
Right.
us, so.
And that's where we probably have the MOU. This is just for a support letter. This has got nothing to do with the presentation to a certain degree, but you're right. We need to see all of that as we move forward. Yes, 100% agree. But as far as the support letter, anybody have any queries or all those in favor? Opposed? All right. Closed session. Recommendation that the meeting be closed to press and public under section 91J and K of the community charter. J, information that is prohibited or information that is, if it were presented in a document, would be prohibited from disclosure under section 21 of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. K, negotiations and related discussions respecting the proposed provision of a municipal service that are their preliminary stages, that are in their preliminary stages, and that, in the view of the council, could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the municipality if they were held in public. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Etchart, Councillor